In this video, I'm going to be talking about the Media Manager software that I use as part of a small home theater setup that I have at home. Now, if I was going to be watching movies or television shows or listening to music on a connected device, on a web browser, streaming it across my home network or the internet, then Plex is the perfect program for that. However, if you are going to be managing your media as part of a media room or a home theater setup, if you have a PC that has all of your media on it and it's connected to a television, then perhaps you'd like something that is more presentable, more elegant, more professional, that doesn't take away from the experience that you've been trying to set up. The software that I use specifically is called Xbmc. And it offers a lot of customization. I was able to set it up to look exactly the way that I want. There are a lot of plugins. There are a lot of skins. There's a lot you can do with it. It's not perfect. Just like Plex had its shortcomings, Xbmc has its shortcomings as well. But for my purposes, as far as a dedicated media manager, meaning I'm using this software to view media on the same PC that hosts that media, I'm not streaming it. That's for Plex to do. Plex is the program you want if you're going to be streaming media. But when I have a PC connected to a television that's all part of a small home theater that I have going, then I want something that is a little more professional. I don't know if that's the right word, but that's the one I'm going to use for now. So before I start talking about that, to give you some context, here's the room that I am using Xbmc in at home. And you can see why I don't want to be browsing a bunch of files in Windows File Explorer and watching them using the VLC media player. I want something that gives a more unified presentation when I am browsing my media. So here's the room I have at home. I guess I should say right off the bat, if you've noticed that the one movie poster is blurred, that's because it was a horror movie poster and it had a graphic image on it that I didn't think was appropriate for this video. So I decided to take the high road and blur that out. So if you take a look here underneath the Nightmare Before Christmas poster, you can see this box with the red lights in the front. Those red lights are actually fans, and this is the PC that is driving the display on the television here. You can see that I wouldn't want to just have a Windows interface up there. When it first starts up, it is. But I want something that will have a more elegant appearance when I am watching movies or if there's a movie night going on or something like that. I don't want to browse through files in a folder in Windows. And that's why I use Xbmc. And it's very easy to use, very configurable, very easy to set up. We won't have any of the networking issues we had with Plex. And Plex's networking setup wasn't so bad, but there were a lot of steps. That's not the case with Xbmc because we're using it on the same machine that actually hosts the media. Another thing I should mention about Xbmc, they are going to be changing the name of this program very soon to Kodi. They got a lot of blowback from this. Many people didn't like the name. They felt it sounded too much like an 80s teen heartthrob. The logo looks like it was designed by Play School. I was in the camp that didn't like either the name change or the logo design, but the developers of Xbmc shot back pretty harshly, in essence saying, we don't care what you think if you disagree. And what can you say? It's an open source thing. You can download it for free, so you roll with it. I'm still using Xbmc. I will refer to it as Xbmc. And the reason they're changing the name in the first place is because Xbmc actually stands for Xbox Media Center. It was first developed as software you could run on an Xbox to manage your media. Because they're going to be going through the name change, in order to download the latest version of Xbmc, you're actually going to want to go to the URL kodi.tv, Kodi.tv. You'll then click on Downloads, and you can see that it's available for many different platforms. Once you've downloaded it and run it, then you're ready to start setting up where your files are, where your music, your movies, your TV shows are, and using the program. So now I'm going to start Xbmc on my machine. I'm going to step you through the process of setting it up, which is really easy. All you have to do is set the directories. But I'll also give you some examples of how it works. I'll show you why it is I like it, why I prefer it as my main media manager, on the dedicated PC. If I'm using a laptop or a connected device or watching across the internet, again, I use Plex. Plex is a great server. It's a not so great client. On the other hand, Xbmc is not such a great server, but it's an excellent client. And that's why I use two different programs. And people will debate this and argue about it forever. But there are people on both sides. But for me personally, I find Xbmc to be the better dedicated media manager. So let's start Xbmc, and I will show you all that it has to offer. And here we are. Right away, I like the interface, but there's one thing I have to say right off the bat. If we go over here to System, and we click on that, and then I click on Appearance, you can see that I'm using the Confluence Customizable Mod. The stock skin for Xbmc, I believe, is actually just called Confluence. If I click on that, you can see it here. But I'm using one called the Confluence Customizable Mod. So my interface may look slightly different. I'll also tell you, if we click here on Settings, there's what seems like an infinite number of things you can change. And you can set it up exactly the way you want. You can tweak it in countless ways, so it's just what you're looking for. And that's one of the many things I like about it. Another thing I like about it is that it can be used with a mouse. Plex has no mouse support, but this does. I'm scrolling back and forth in this menu right now using the mouse wheel. It can also be controlled with a controller. It has keyboard support, but Plex has that as well. But the mouse support becomes very important once we start to get into the context menus. Before we get to any of that, let me show you how to set it up so it recognizes your movies, your music, and your television shows. You can see here it says Videos, Movies, TV shows. Movies is for watching movies, TV shows is for watching TV shows. Videos is for the administration of it all. It's for telling the program where your directories are, what types of media are in those directories, and so on. If I click on Videos, mine's already set up, but you will have at least Add Videos. And all you need to do is click on that, browse to where your media is, and then say OK. Let me click out of that. Additionally, you'll be able to tell it exactly what kind of media is in there. Now here's where the right click on the mouse button becomes important. If I right click on Movies, you can see down here it says Change Content. And I can tell it that this folder contains movies. It doesn't contain anything. And incidentally, this is the setting I use for my bonus features folder. I don't want that folder included in scans. So for bonus features, I say None, and then I say Exclude selected folder from scans, and that way Xbmc just skips it when it is doing its updates. You can also say that it's music videos or TV shows. And by doing that, it knows which database to use to gather the information, and it will download metadata for you. Now, to give you an idea of exactly how this works, you'll remember in the first video, the one about ripping, we ripped the movie An American Werewolf in London. So I'm going to show you how to add that to this library that I have, and the process is the same regardless of whether you're doing an initial library scan the first time you set up Xbmc or any other time you're adding any media at all. You will always go through this process. That movie is in a folder inside this directory here. So what I'm going to do, and again, this is what you do every time you add new media to your collections, I'm going to right-click on this icon, and you'll see down here at the bottom, it says Scan for New Content. I'm going to click on that, but before I do, while it does its scan, notice up here in the upper right-hand corner, it will tell you the progress. And you'll see that it finds the movie An American Werewolf in London on its own. It happens very quickly, but it will find it, it will download the metadata for it, and then the movie will be added. It's just that simple. So I'm going to scan, I'm going to click on Scan for New Content, and watch in the upper right-hand corner what happens. And there's An American Werewolf in London, just like that, and now it's all done. So what we're going to do now is click on this Home button right here. That takes us back to the main screen. Now let's click on Movies, and here are all the movies that I have in my library. And if we scroll down, there it is, An American Werewolf in London. If we click on that movie poster, you can see that it starts. Now, let me turn down the volume right away. It may be kind of loud. Another thing that I like about Xbmc is it puts all these controls right at your fingertips. For example, there are many video options, that you can set up right away. You can zoom in, you can zoom out, you can set all sorts of modes. Very easy. As far as audio is concerned, you can switch among tracks. If you have a track where it's Spanish, for example, then you can switch to Spanish on the fly. You can turn on and off subtitles. You can select what language you want them in. You can adjust the volume up here. There's just a ton of stuff that you can do right away. You can set bookmarks. You can enable subtitles. You can have all these controls. Turn the volume up and down. You can scroll backwards and forwards. And if you stop in the middle of the movie, the next time you start it up, it'll ask if you want to start from the beginning or would you like to pick up where you left off. Very, very easy to use. Another nice thing about it, and again, this is why I think mouse control is so important. If we right-click on it and we select movie information, you can see there's other stuff we can do, but I'm going to focus on movie information. We click on that, and this window comes up. You can play it. If you click on cast, it'll show you the cast, and you can click on anybody to see what other movies you have that they've starred in. You can click back to plot. You can watch the trailer. You can even do this, get artwork. If I click on that, it will give me the opportunity to change a lot of the artwork that's associated with this movie in Xbmc. For example, here we can click poster, and it shows me all of these alternative posters that I can use. So let's choose this one. It will say that it's downloading the artwork, and now it's done. The image here doesn't change, but if we click on this X, you can see now the movie poster is the one that I prefer. Very easy to configure, very easy to use. Very easy to manage. The only thing it doesn't do, at least as far as I can tell, is you can't skip to a particular letter. So if you have a lot of movies like I do, and you want to go to Zombieland, you have to scroll all the way to the bottom, and there it is. So that's movies, very easy to use, very simple. We'll click on Home. TV shows are exactly the same. I talked about how it is you name and number your files that represent your TV shows, but if you've done it right, then if you click on a particular television show and then a season, it'll show you all of the episodes for that season. Click on one of them and the show will start. There you go. Stop this now. And we will go back up to Home. Music. Music is a little different. Here, I have to click Artists first. Now, you can see that there are a bunch of artists that I have. For some reason, if it doesn't recognize an artist or it can't find information about it, it just puts in a default picture of the Rolling Stones. I don't know why it does that exactly. But anyway, so you click on who you want to listen to, click the album, and one of the things I really like about the music feature here is that when you pick the song that you'd like to listen to, it gives you a really nice series of visualizations in the background. So as the song plays, it gives you this visualization. And not just that one, it scrolls through about 20 different kinds, as you can see. And you can set it to play, you can set it to repeat, you can make playlists, you can do everything that you do with any other media player. And so it's a nice thing to have on the screen. In fact, the image that I showed you at the beginning of this video of my personal home theater that I have, it was the music visualization that was on the screen at the time. So it's a really nice thing to have. So, although it's a rule that I don't normally stop a song right in the middle, I'm going to have to do it here so we can continue on. So if we go back to Home, here you can see it says Radio. And one other thing I'd like to add, one of my complaints about Plex is that it was difficult to configure to make the program my own. Whereas with Xbmc, it was very easy. The image of the radio you see here, this concert picture that you see there, this picture of a TV, the theater seats, and the videos that somebody with OCD would just love, except for this yellow one up in the corner. All of those images are ones that I chose. Another thing about this radio option in particular is that Xbmc supports plugins and add-ons. You can expand the functionality of the program with third-party applications, and radio is one of them. So I added it on, and in the settings, I added a menu item called radio. And what I really like about this is that it is a function that allows you to choose from what has to be at least 100 different genres. And it will show you all the radio stations that stream music in that particular genre. It's really outstanding. It's like having satellite radio, except there's no charge for it. So I'll click on radio, and I actually have a bunch of my own stations plugged in already, ones that I know work. But I'll show you this, browse by genre. If we click on that, you can see there are more genres than I was ever even close to aware of. It just goes on and on and on and on and on. So we'll pick one, blues, and in fairness, some of these don't work all the time. But let's scroll down. Let's find, here, Got Radio. Got Radio is usually pretty good. They have a lot of stations, a ton of stations. And if we click on that, it will take a few seconds to connect, but then it will start streaming blues music from this particular internet radio station. It will also tell us the song, it'll tell us the artist, and it will have the visualization in the background as well, just like we had with our previous music demonstration. So let me click on this and we'll see what happens. So there you go. Just like that, and now it will stream blues all day long, or whatever genre you chose. You can just listen to it forever. It's a really neat thing to have. In fact, I even made a discovery. If we go up one level and up one more level, I found this, Irish pub radio. Apparently, if you own an Irish pub, you should play this in the background. It's all Irish music, a lot of folk music, a lot of Celtic music, and you have to suffer through the occasional U2 song. But I never get tired of this station. I don't know why exactly. Oh, what do you know? Speak of the devil. But it plays a lot of Irish music, and it's quite remarkable. Of course, that's just a personal opinion I had to throw in there, of course. Remember we talked in the first video that Blu-ray is a proprietary format, and an American Werewolf in London Blu-ray is still actually in the drive as we speak, but it won't play because it's a Blu-ray and Xbmc doesn't have Blu-ray functionality built in. We've already touched on the capabilities of the system, but there's just so much you can do. You can even use Xbmc to watch live TV, for pictures, to view the weather. Here are a bunch of add-ons that you can browse through. I'll even click on that and give you an idea. Get add-ons. Let's see all add-ons. And then there's all these categories from which you can choose and select what you're looking for. You're looking for picture add-ons. And then there's all of these that you can select. Go up one level, up one more level, up one more level. Let's just go back. There's a lot you can do on the system, how you access the internet. You can turn on and off Kiosk Mode. Actually, let me talk about that for a moment. If we go back to movies, over here on the side, you'll notice this tab here. And there are many ways that you can view the movies you have. Poster wrap, vertical logo, cover flow, full wall, fan art, media info 3. There's a ton of ways that you can set it up. I use thumbnail, but there's a lot over here that you can configure. If you don't like having this thing pop out, or if you're going to be using this system with your family, with your kids, and you don't want them changing anything, then you can set it up so that Kiosk Mode is disabled. That will take away this tab, and nobody will be able to use it. So back to home. That's really all there is to it. I've talked a lot about the functionality and about using it, but setting it up, telling it where your folders are, where your media is really easy to do. And once you've done that, adding them afterwards is trivial. You simply have to do the appropriate naming, and then do a scan. So whether you use Plex or whether you use Xbmc, you know that I am big on ownership. And that's why I do this. Because unlike Netflix, which is a great service, by the way, but unlike Netflix, whatever I put on here will always be there. And that's why I encourage people to at least mess around with this and give it a try and see what you think. So I hope you learned something from these videos. Best of luck with it and have fun.